Andy, a lot going on for a Monday. We had the Dow down over 400 points, NASDAQ shedding 2%. A lot going on here. We had Trump's meltdown on Twitter, Facebook weighing on tech, which we'll get to. But what's kind of your take on this market action when we have sort of investors seemingly laying in wait for the Fed meeting on Wednesday?
Yeah, if the snowstorm doesn't derail that's coming to the East Coast. I think that, the nervousness that first manifested in February is still right below the surface, Miles. So if you get an excuse to make things jittery, the jitters will come back in full force, and that's what we're seeing today. And I think you mentioned the two main catalysts, which are President Trump and I think especially Facebook.
Yeah, and I do kind of get that sense, it was sort of a weak rally perhaps, or a false calm that had settled into markets over the last couple of weeks or so. But for a little bit more on today's market action, I do want to bring in Jared Blickery. Jared, we had a lot of damage here done in the market, tech sliding badly. What's your big picture takeaway on today's action?
Well, it all has to do with tech, and I've prepared a longer-term chart of XLK. This maps out the tech sector, and what you're looking at is versus that red line right there is the XLK versus the S&P 500, and you can see that this goes all the way back to about May of last year. You can see in the three prior sell-offs that when tech sold off, it was really more so against than I would say the S&P 500. The S&P 500 held up rather well. We saw something different happen in this latest sell-off this year, which is that tech really never took that big of a hit versus the S&P 500. They both sold off about 11.8%. And when we got this huge rally, tech just outperformed. So the leader of last year outperforming, and what troubles me about the market action today is this could be only the beginning. If it turns out that people are in fact rotating, traders are rotating out of the tech sector, there's a lot lower to go here.
Okay, so the thinking is essentially that the tech sector would catch up perhaps with any weakness that's happening in the broader market.
Right, and for the S&P 500, it doesn't mean that it has to go down and breach the prior lows, but we could see a lot of sideways action in the broader market as traders try to figure out what they're going to rotate into next, if in fact that is what's happening.
Yeah, that would kind of remind me, I guess, of the market that we saw maybe in 2015 or early 2016. Now let's talk about the technicals a little bit. What are kind of some of the levels that you're looking at? I know the S&P had breached 2,700 earlier today. A lot of traders have been talking about that. What's standing out to you here?
2,700 was a big level. I've been talking about it for a week now. You want to see it hold on a closing basis, so it looks like it's set to do that. I have the S&P at 2,715 right now. Looking a little bit farther down, if we do in fact get a close below 2,700 in the coming days, I think that's going to knock down the possibility of the higher highs and higher lows that we've been seeing, and we could possibly get a retest of those February lows. And what I've been looking at specifically is a 76.4% retracement of this big up leg that we've had since the February lows, and that number comes in at 2596. So the lowest I would put the S&P 500 at on a technical level is 2596 to 2600.
All right, now, well, I want to touch quickly on the bond market. We did see the curve flatten a little bit earlier, a little bit of a bid in the 10-year when the market sold off, but that rally has faded a little bit, even though the market remains down. Is the action in the bond market all about the Fed right now?
It's about the Fed. It's also about the huge treasury supply that we have. If you look at the picture of what the futures were doing in the morning, bond futures were catching a bid as the market was selling off, kind of a flight to quality situation that I would say. And then at 11:30 a.m., we got two bill auctions, and that kind of changed the picture a little bit. I wouldn't read too much in today's bond action.
All right, Jared, thanks so much for giving us the color on today's market action. As another trading day comes to a close, the first trading day of this week, we saw Aaron's ringing the bell there.